and 12 seconds remaining.
Thank you, Mr Chair. I'll take those 3 minutes.
Clayton Mitchell.
Thank you, sir. I'll take those 3 minutes and 12 seconds remaining, and I'll probably take a few more as this bill progresses. And it's interesting that this bill is being read in the House tonight. That's 2 appalling bills being read on the same night, being pushed through at breakneck speed, sir, that are going to have some dire consequences as we move forward. So when we were last speaking to this bill, I was in part 2 speaking specifically on section 58 to do with fire breaks on forestry land. And when I read out the point in relation to that, it's got some pretty good stuff here, except the fact that it has been completely removed and taken out of the bill. And this is relating specifically, sir, to fire breaks on specifically landholder of forestry land. Now, in section 58 2 or /1 and 2 and 3, they have virtually rewritten this in relation to the preparation and management of fire breaks on land, but taken out the requirement for forestry land to be demanded to ensure that they have a clear free area, sir. And I find that absolutely fascinating, that when you look at current situations around funding by the Department of Conservation specifically going into the management of fire breaks, that we have in the last 12 months, sir, seen a 93% reduction. That's a 93% reduction from $13 million down to just $700,000, dealing specifically with the fire management in conservation land, sir. Now, that is almost in preparation for this bill, knowing that the Department of Conservation no longer has to put that money into those fire breaks, which is going to have some serious effects in the short to medium term, specifically on conservation land, if that is not actually put back in there. The whole idea of having a fire service, sir, that can determine the fact that those lands, those conservation lands, are actually adequately looked after to make sure that that is going to be upheld, and to have that taken away under section 58 is just defies belief, really. On a positive note, sir, I see in part 2, section 45, the power to use water for any emergency and training purposes. Well, sir, that is a very, very good amendment, and it certainly ties in nicely with Chris Barfoy's ability to not have to get a road closure to ensure that you've got to pay the money to put out the cones to do a fire test. Of course, emergencies don't happen like that in the real world, and you've just got to be prepared at a minute's notice to ensure that. But to enable the fire service to be able to utilise water for training purposes or any other purpose required, even if it is not a specific fire, sir, does actually make some sense. So we would certainly support that aspect of it, but when we get down to the fire breaks on forestry land being removed in section 58 and the effect that that is already having in relation to... Is that my time up already, sir?
It has gone. The member had a short time.
I was just looking up at the clock.
Never rely on the clock. I'm the sole judge of time.
Rightio. So I'm sure there's some people ready to take
would the member like another call?
Yeah, Mr Chair, I'm still going.
Clayton Mitchell.
Woo. Thought that was pretty obvious, but anyway, we'll take that. Carpe diem, seize the day on a call. Doesn't happen very often. Sir, to be wrapping things up here, certainly section 58, around that and seeing the effects that that is already having on our conservation land is some serious concern. As we move through the bill into part 3, sir, I will take another call, probably a number of calls, because the funding model is something that we have some serious concerns with. I'm just wrapping up, giving my colleagues some time to raise their feet, sir. Thank you, Mr Chair.
Let me see. Chris Barfoy.
I know you had an option, so thank you very much.